Kirk Cousins is certainly good enough for Justin Jefferson to have a nuclear season in the right situation.
Throw to your good players. Success rate versus press, success rate versus double team. Justin Jefferson has it all. What is happening, Matt Harmon, with Justin Jefferson?
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Today's show, it's going to be talking about guys that either hugely disappointed or maybe popped off, and now we kind of strip away the emotion and say, okay, well, what's it look like moving forward? Okay, so we'll start with Justin Jefferson. Had an absolutely bazonkers week one, Matt. Just went crazy. 9 catches, 184, 2 touchdowns against Green Bay. Jair Alexander, you're thinking, okay, we're off and running, man. Like, we are going to the damn moon with Justin Jefferson. But my guy Matt Harmon is talking about 2K.
2,000 yards. I think coming into this year, he was already an elite wide receiver. But, James, I think there's a chance he could go for like 2,000 yards this year. 2,000 yards this year. 2,000 yards this year. He's a little bit off that pace now. He's a little bit off that pace.
Like, my dude's talking about 2K. No.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Week 2... fell off the pace, but we're thinking, okay, well, hey, listen, he still, got 6 catches for 48. That wasn't not ideal, but that happens. And the volume was still there too, right? He got 12 targets in week number 2. Okay, dude, what the hell happened in week 3, bro? 3 catches for 14 yards, a 50% catch rate over the last 2 weeks. And again, last week, by the way, you want to give him a pass on Darius Slay, James Bradbury, that combo. Okay, fine. I get it. Primetime Kirk, fine.
Yeah.
Week 3 against Detroit, dude? What? What is happening, Matt Harmon, with Justin Jefferson?
So there's a couple different directions here that we can go with. I do think that the Lions had a concentrated plan to, like, we're not going to let this guy beat us. Right. And the Detroit Lions are generally a very beatable defense. So, shout out to them. They used Jeff Okudah, who, by the way, he was like the third overall pick a few years ago. He was certainly a top 5 pick at cornerback, has had a really, really rough run of injuries lately. They pretty much just had Jeff Okudah and a safety over him, covering Justin Jefferson and just pressing him right at the line. So part of it is just like, they're not going to do what Green Bay did in week 1, right? Where, Jair Alexander said after the game, like, I wanted to shadow Justin Jefferson, and, they just said no, and they just let him kind of get covered by a bunch of linebackers and safeties. I think we thought that was what it was going to look like a lot more often for Justin Jefferson than it has so far. The last 2 weeks, Darius Slay really wants to go after Justin Jefferson. They do. Kirk doesn't really take advantage of the other matchups there. The other guys don't really step up. Then in week 3, the Lions have a plan to cover Justin Jefferson. They go after him with Jeff Okudah and a safety over the top, and they really make it hard for Justin Jefferson to be the guy that, wins on a route-by-route basis, even though, he's probably going to win some of those matchups. He's probably going to lose some of those matchups. Meanwhile, other guys step up. But I think the bigger thing here for Justin Jefferson is, like, all the talk about him being in the Cooper Kupp role.
Yeah.
That was BS. So far, Jefferson has not been like a pure slot receiver. He's been like, KJ Osborne's been their slot guy, 58.4% of his snaps in the slot, which, that's the Cooper Kupp role, right? And I'm saying this about Kupp for a few years now, even before he had the big year last year. Cooper Kupp has the most unique role for any wide receiver in the entire NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got schemed against zone coverage more, got schemed away from press coverage more over the last 5 years, in reception perception history, really dating back to 2014. Than Cooper Kupp has. Amon-Ra St. Brown's probably the closest guy we have playing that type of role right now. And it's just like Justin Jefferson, his role is not even close to that.
If I can kind of, I don't know, maybe try to explain some of those comments too, though. Look, if you look at his usage, we're talking about Justin Jefferson last year. He was, obviously dominantly an outside wide receiver, played 75% of his snaps on the outside. Now, they have mixed him around a little bit more, to be fair to Minnesota and to be fair to Justin Jefferson. 65% of his snaps now are on the outside, and the rest have been kicked inside. So he is playing a few more snaps lined up as an inside wide receiver. And I'll say this too. You talk about Cooper Kupp's role, scheming him away from press coverage. A lot of that has to do with pre-snap motion. And I do believe that Justin Jefferson is getting a lot more pre-snap motion. I don't want to say a lot more, but more than he got in Zimmer's offense, which was none. When you kind of like think about it from that perspective of like, okay, he's obviously not talking about transitioning to being a full-time slot receiver, but he's getting more snaps lined up inside. I think that's kind of where he's kind of going with comments like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant was like he probably didn't mean it like I'm gonna be in the Cooper Kupp role. It's just like bozos like us in the media hear that and we're like, he's gonna be playing the Cooper Kupp role in the same offense that with the offensive coordinator from the Rams. Like it's probably taking like a bit of it gets aggregated then to all these other sites and people
that's such
run
a good
with
point.
it.
Yeah.
That's how this stuff works. I'm sure that if you actually ask Justin Jefferson, are you gonna line up as much as Cooper? Are you going to run those exact same routes? Well, no, because by the way, they're also different players. Even on the last podcast, I said I'm getting close to moving Diggs into wide receiver 2 and Jefferson into like wide receiver 3, because if he's not going to have all of those like schemed up looks, and I agree with you, like a 5-10% move, like that's great from what we saw with Mike Zimmer the last few years. But if it's only going to be a 5 to 10% move and not like a 20-30% move to pre-snap motion, playing in the slot, stuff like that, that's just the type of stuff that makes your margin for error a little thinner, to the point that, well, if you're not going to play a ton in the slot, you will get physical coverage from a guy like Jeff Okudah on the outside. I'm not saying Jeff Okudah is like prime Darrelle Revis or anything like that, but it does make a difference. It makes a difference. So, and he's still tied to Kirk Cousins, right? Like,
right.
I like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is certainly good enough for Justin Jefferson to have a nuclear season in the right situation. And this can still be a good situation, but not this type of a setup and role and deployment that we thought that Justin Jefferson would have when he was just a print fest every single week. It's just the margin for error is not going to be as great as we thought. And then the volatility that we just talked about with wide receivers, that's going to come into play for Justin Jefferson every single week.
I want to quote our very good friend Marcus Grant, who I always remember this. It's like he always had a saying, throw to your good players. You know what I mean? And I just feel like right now, whether it's scheme or not, doesn't matter. Sometimes these guys just need to get fed the ball, right? And so for me, I just feel like they went away from that clearly in week number 3. I don't care what listen, bro. I mean, you want to talk about, your own metrics, success rate versus press, success rate versus double team. Justin Jefferson has it all. So I guess where the frustration comes in, and it goes back to Kirk Cousins, which I know it's like that. It's such a old horse to beat on, right? But like, it's true though. Hey, listen, feature good players.
I'm not worried about Justin Jefferson. I'm not like, if you have Justin Jefferson on your fantasy team, you're gonna be fine. Like you'll be fine. Yeah. But I do think because the role is not quite as juicy as we wanted it to be, even if I never bought that it was going to be a full Cooper Kupp type of situation, it's just that the margin for error is a little bit smaller than we would have thought.
All right, man. Just give me like a 2-second, like a 2-sentence, like preview. What does Justin Jefferson do the next 3 weeks? He's got New Orleans, Marshawn Lattimore, Chicago, very beatable, Miami, depending on what their health situation is in the secondary, but they could be beatable as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Like, if this is again the way that wide receivers work. If Justin Jefferson goes out and has like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns next week, even in a tough matchup, you better be like 0% surprised, because that's just how this stuff works.
Right, there you go.